Hello, folks. Welcome to Scratch the Surface. I'm EJ Scott. Today, my guest is Brian Huskey, improviser, comedian, actor, writer, producer, humanitarian. I threw that in there. I'll talk about what Brian and I talked about in just a second, but first, a little plug for myself. I have a website, ejscott.com. Go check that out. I'm on Twitter at ejscott and at ejpodcast. Instagram, ejscott1106. Raising money for charity, go to crowdrise.com/7on7. That's the number 7 on the number 7. I'm in a documentary called Running Blind, where I ran 12 marathons in 12 months in 2012 for charity because I'm losing my eyesight to a genetic disease called choroideremia, and it runs in my family. So you could check out the Running Blind documentary on iTunes, Amazon, or Google Play. It's only $2 or $3 to rent or buy a digital copy of it. So go check that out. That's about it, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's about it. So the great Brian Huskey, I've been a fan of his for a long time, mostly through improv, but in the last, decade or so, he's popped up in pretty much everything. He has 160 acting credits on IMDb. He's one of those guys, and you see his face, you go, oh, yeah, that guy. It was a real pleasure to have him here and talk with him. We talked about a lot of stuff, obviously. We talked about comedy and improv and how he got started. He's from North Carolina. He started out studying photography and stuff in college, moved to New York, where he ended up meeting Rob Corddry, another improviser and actor, and Rob helped introduce Brian to the world of improv, and through the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York. And Brian had all 4 founders of the UCB as teachers. We talked about that. We talk about Brian's divorced with a daughter. We talk about that stuff. We talk about how Brian was raised without knowing his father, and then eventually met his father at the age of 17, and we talk about that and the abuse that he sustained from his stepfather, losing his parents, lots of stuff. We talked about he was in the Sonic commercials, but then got fired. We talked about that. A lot of really great stuff. We talked about all the stuff that he's worked on Veep, Bob's Burgers. He did a bunch of Will Ferrell movies, Curb Your Enthusiasm, X-Files. He's in the new X-Files. We talked about that. So much stuff we talked about. Oh, he told me the biggest dick he's ever worked with in showbiz. I don't know what you call it, but I won't spoil it. It's pretty funny. So we talk about a lot of things. We get down into it. It's a long conversation, but it's a worthwhile conversation. So I hope you will enjoy listening to it as much as I enjoyed being a part of it. And I'm very grateful for Brian coming over and talking to me about it, about all this stuff, and being so open. So there you go. So I will now introduce from October 4th, 2017. This is my talk with Brian Huskey. All right, you all set?
Okay, looks like this is happening. No.
Okay, you good?
As long as you don't do some gotcha journalism.
Well, we'll see.
Oh, man. Oh, God. You're just secretly revealed I'm like a big Trump supporter or something.
Yeah, you know it.
You're just like, oh, man, he's doing a great job, though. I mean, things are right on target.
Hi, Brian Huskey.
Hi, Jay. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
Of course. That was perfect inflection.
Great. Just to make sure the mic's picking that up.
We met, we don't know each other,
right?
But we met at the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 premiere.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
And it was afterwards. And I was like, oh, there's Brian Huskey, but I didn't say your name right. I confused you. I called you Rob because
Corddry. You thought it was Corddry, right?
I confused. There's a bunch of Robs in the UCB world. There's a few Matts.
Not many Brians, surprisingly.
Not many Brians, but
I don't know of any. Oh, Brian Gallivan.
I do go because I was surprised to see you. I was like, oh,
right.
Spit out Rob or something.
Yeah.
Like
well, he and I
stupid about it.
Oh no, but he and I have been affiliated through we were roommates.
Yeah.
And they were in the same sketch and improv group together for years and years and years.
Yep.
And then Children's Hospital.
Well, yeah, and then there's Rob Hubel, Rob Riggle.
Right.
There's a bunch of you guys.
Yeah.
And all you guys I used to watch at UCB
In New York?
many years ago here in LA.
Oh, here in LA. Yeah.
When the theater started out here.
Right. It's funny because there's I mean, 20 years? It's crazy. It's 20 years. This week they have the 20-year anniversary of teens doing the Herald at our theater and stuff.
Okay.
And so I was in New York for 10 years, and I've been here for 11 years, I think. But it's funny, I always assume people know me from New York when they say UCB. It was like, oh, no, there's a whole
chapter of your life.
Oh my God.
Here.
So old. That's crazy.
Well, you just had a birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
How was it?
It was good.
About 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, birthdays are always they've always just been a very emotional thing for me. Not because I'm aging, but I'm always I get very I want attention, but I don't want attention.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that people sort of know about it, but I want to be celebrated, a lot of levels. And it's crazy. I see it in my daughter. My daughter has this thing where she doesn't allow people to say happy birthday or sing happy birthday to her. Now she's at the level you can say happy birthday, but singing is verboten.
Are you allowed? Can you be excited when you say happy birthday to her, or does it have to be kind of monotone?
It's a little. She prefers monotone, but I was you can't control other people's enthusiasm. That's just rude, And she's like, meh. But she's 10, and go through her her brain is crazy right now.
I for all through my 20s, I didn't celebrate my birthday.
Oh yeah,
and then. Once I turned 30, I was like, I gotta celebrate more.
Mm-hmm.
I feel I should you should be celebrating more. I had an epiphany of we should enjoy life more and make excuses to celebrate things more and stuff like that.
I only recently realized that's a certain it's an expression of self-love. If you're yeah, great, come celebrate me. This is great. You're a part of my life. I want you to celebrate me and celebrate that we're related and stuff. But I personally, when I turned 40, I didn't do anything. I had people meet up in the park in the morning for what seemed like a play date. And then some people were and one person happy birthday, Brian. And somebody else it's your birthday? I'm yeah. But it was literally my 40th birthday.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. And I just hid. It's crazy.
40 is a tricky one. 30, I was excited to turn 30.
Yeah.
And then 40, I was less excited to turn 40.
I was less excited to turn 41. 40 is fine. 40 is sort of I'm walking in this house. And then 41 is wait, this house is haunted. Oh my God, what's going on? But now it's the house is fine.
I'm going to be 42 next month.
I just turned 49. So I'm on the edge of the next floor of the house. I'm going.
Are you well, it's my last of the 40s. I got to soak it up. Enjoy it.
Yeah, kind of. I am enjoying whatever remnants I have of my physical prowess. I am just do it. Take care of yourself. Because the little things that start creeping up is oh, that's a new feeling. That's a new thing. It's
injury.
Or whatever. You're oh, that's not going to go away. That's just going to be there.
I'll just put this on my list.
Yeah.
Next time I go to the doctor, I'll bring this up.
Here's another thing.
Do you take care of yourself? Do you work out and stuff?
I do. Yeah. I work out with this trainer guy who is my age. So he sort of gives me stuff this is because I was doing CrossFit for a little while.
That could injure you.
Yeah. I was shredded. I looked naked. I looked great, but I was
let's take it off.
You want to? Here we go. Here it is. Oh my gosh! See this part? Look at that thing.
Oh, yeah,
look at that. Touch it. Go ahead, touch it. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's a good trainer.
No, but I fucked up my shoulder.
Yeah.
Just kind of going for it. And when I signed up, the guy was listen, dude, when you join the CrossFit lifestyle, you're going to be here 6-7 days a week. And I was like, I really don't think that's going to happen at all. And just I'd go in there like once or twice a week, and it was great, but it's
tough.
I
tried that too, and it wasn't working out so good. I'm doing P90X.
Right.
But I did it once before where I did like 90 days and 90 workouts, 90 days or whatever. And I was getting in really good shape toward the end of it, and then I injured myself, and then it all went away.
Yeah, yeah, I know, that's
really quickly.
Yeah,
and now I'm doing P90X again, but like 3 days in, I already injured myself.
Oh God!
And now I'm just doing it. This
guy is great in that he worked. He like had this weird life previous to this, where he was sort of a trainer for like Jennifer Lopez and all these musicians on tour and stuff. So he came up with all this stuff that you can do in your hotel room with no
equipment.
Yeah, no equipment, or and all this stuff I do is just like with a 15-pound couple of dumbbells.
Yeah.
And so it's all sort of like
bands and stuff. Do you have bands?
No, literally it's just like a yoga mat and those two weights, and then just kind of do stuff. And it's all, it doesn't take much for me to be impressed with with what I've got. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Well, it's working out for you.
Yeah, great.
It's working out very well.
Okay.
So you're from North Carolina originally.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, North Carolina. How'd you like growing up there?
I liked it a lot. I like LA, but I wouldn't choose to live here. And still. Mm-hmm. I mean, no, I think it's not sort of my, like I've been past couple years, I've been shooting up in Toronto in Canada, and I'm just like, I have such a crush on Canada, and maybe it's because it's like the antithesis of what we are right now, but it's just so calm and peaceful. But it also reminds me of like kind of Charlotte. Like I think I need a slower, less populated pace.
I went to Toronto last year for the first time, and it is like, it looks like a city.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that
doesn't have 7 million people in it.
Yeah, and it doesn't have that level of like just intensity and vibration and stuff. It's people have. I actually had a conversation with someone there, and they were saying like, well, I was like, you guys are so polite and you're so organized and clean and you're respectful, of each other's space and your own space and stuff. And he was like, well, yeah, why wouldn't we be? He seemed very confused. I was like, I don't understand. Like, human, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, where I come from, you have to work backwards from insanity to achieve this logic.
The land of America.
Yeah. So Charlotte, I love Charlotte. But, of course, I had that thing of like, it was familiar to me, so it eventually became boring.
Yeah, because you went to school. You went to college there.
I went to school in Greensboro, and I wanted to get out of state, and so I applied to all these colleges. And my parents like, wherever you get in, we'll get the money for it. And I got in everywhere, and they're like, we didn't. That back. Yeah, we don't have the money for it.
We didn't think you were that smart.
Well, they literally said like, we didn't think you would get in, and I was like, guys, come on, don't get a bit on the horse a little bit.
We thought very little of you.
Yeah, we really were not impressed by what we've seen thus far. And then out of the gate, he just sort of like. So I went to. That's where my mom and my sister went, and it was fine. But in retrospect, if they had spent whatever $250,000 on some Ivy League school, it would have been a waste because
you're an actor.
Yeah, I'm an actor, and I went and I've always wanted to do it, but I kept sort of telling myself, I don't really want to. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Fear, right?
Fear, or the analogy I use over and over again is the allegory, symbol, metaphor. So many different words. All these are all the same thing. It's just like the longer it took me to ask out the girl of my dreams, the harder it got, the more sweaty I got about it.
Yeah.
So it just got to the point where I was like,
it was easier not to do it than to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I did other stuff. So I was played in a band, and then I moved to New York to do photography, and then that's where I met Corddry, and he encouraged me to. We were roommates, and he's like, "You're funny. You should do this stuff." And that's all I needed was somebody to say that. And it's funny. Every single people, if they've listened to more than one podcast with me, is like, "Oh God, he's telling this story again." But it's basically just like
we'll add some new elements to it.
Yeah.
But when you were growing up in Charlotte, siblings,
Sister.
Sister, older, younger?
Older. She's still in North Carolina. She was a teacher, and now she's a computer programmer in Pittsboro, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, it's my favorite.
Oh, it's so great. Oh, it's so cute. It's such a sweet little...
Yeah.
That, in my fantasy world, I would be much more successful than I am, to the degree where I could live there and then do some gigs every so often.
Yeah, people do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're not there yet, really, because you have 160 acting credits on your IMDb page.
Yeah, but a lot of them are just one-time gigs.
Yeah, I know, but still, that's really impressive.
Thank you, yeah. I have to, yes, I'm very, very proud of that stuff. And shocked. Sometimes I'm like, oh, really? I think I remember like a fifth of them.
Well, you're churning them out pretty quickly, because most of those are in the last decade.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm really grateful and happy and proud, and I have to kind of remind myself, like, this is kind of. I did say that at one point. I was like, the career I want is to be that guy, like to get to do is a variety of weird things.
Yeah,
you're
doing it.
I'm doing it. So I'm living a dream.
So growing up, were you a popular kid? Were you a nerdy kid? A ham? Anything like that?
I was a ham, but I was like a back of the room with the other kind of nerdy odd kids. Mm-hmm. Private joke. Kind of like, burgeoning writer, like the kind of guys who would say like weird under their breath things that are hilarious,
but don't want all the attention.
Or a thing I would do is I would goad my more popular friend into doing stupid stuff, and then he would execute what would be funny if I had done it, and he would get in trouble for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you were also a manipulator.
I was a Machiavellian kind of kid. But yeah, I was always exercising that part of my brain, and it was that sort of like expression of humor and figuring out what is funny, and kind of in a way, I think it was a way of keeping me safe, and I was staying out because I was also insecure. I was a little heavy when I was little, and I think I always carried that with me.
Really interesting.
And I grew up, my mom remarried, and the man she married had a drinking problem, so I kind of grew up in a little chaos. Mm-hmm. So in the past few years, I've been getting some perspective on that stuff, and I was like,
do you do like therapy and stuff like that?
I do some group stuff, and I've done therapy for a long time, and now I've been doing more like kind of group therapy stuff. And it's interesting. It's like and I never thought I would sort of take to it, but it's it's interesting.
Is the group therapy like they all have the similar things that you've gone through?
Well, it's like Al-Anon.
Okay.
So it is. It's just sort of.
I've gone Al-Anon as well.
Yeah. And I didn't think it would work. It would affect me. But my wife and I split up about 5 years ago, my ex, and we have similar backgrounds, and in retrospect, that's why we came together. Okay. That kind of puzzle piece.
She came from chaos.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'll fix you, you fix me, and then everything will be fixed. And she started to do it, and I saw like this monumental change in her, and
she started doing the groups.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I started to do it too, and then I kind of stopped. And then when I stopped, I felt like, it's like I fell off a ledge. I was like, whoa, I went deeper into those unexplained feelings that I had. And some of them, for me, some of the feelings are just this kind of like a hollowness, or kind of like feeling lonely in the presence of others. And not being able to access joy or happiness.
Oh, really?
Even in the face of having everything I needed. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so doing this stuff, that's what, going back to what I was saying, is like, I'm really amazed that something as simple as just hearing other stories, kind of remapping your brain is how I think of it. Because there's this whole perspective of like you find, God, what God means to you and stuff. And I'm still in this place. I was like, I really think God is happiness. God is sort of like.
Is that your higher power?
Yeah.
Because in Al-Anon and AA and all that stuff, they talk about God or a higher power,
right.
whatever kind of you're into, I guess. Yeah. Because I'm an atheist myself.
Right.
So trying to get around this God thing.
Yeah.
It's really tricky.
And so many people get into it are that because the idea of authority is a big problem for, if you come up in a drinking household. You can't trust authority, or your authority figures have betrayed you, or, abused you, or,
right.
Confused your sort of like roadmap for how to approach the world and stuff. So I think that is a big, hurdle for a lot of people. And just hearing people just say like, so many people here are atheists. So this idea of there's a spiritual program, or you take the spiritual approach to it, it can be kind of off-putting. But I think it's just like, well, spirituality is accessing your own happiness, or accessing a connection to the world beyond your own repeated thought patterns, because I think it's, if you think in terms of like, if you live your life internally, you're living your life inside your own head. So you're not living life. You're just,
right. You're just like sucked in your own void.
Yeah. Your computer program is caught on a loop. So the thing for me to access this stuff, because I'm really into brain stuff, and it's like remapping your neural pathways. I was like, well, all right, that makes sense. Because if you can get out of that cycle, then you're able to access something greater than the cycle.
Well, I like you're like remapping my own neural brain waves. Makes sense.
Yeah. And you have to sort of it has to make sense, or it has to. I mean, I don't care if you do religion, if you do drugs, if you do improv, like whatever you do that lets you access your own personal happiness and it doesn't injure other people, that's fine. Like there shouldn't be judgment of other people, whatever they need to do that. Because then they can, my experience of doing this stuff and another person's is very different. Same end result, hopefully, different semantics, different approach. But if you have the same end result, who cares how you get there?
Right.
And I had this, I worked on a show called Selfie, and one day we were talking about just how different all of our acting training was and our acting experience and stuff, because people were like, British Academy of Theater and improv, and John Cho never did any acting training. He just did plays randomly. But we were all able to do our jobs, and we were all like, it was kind of cool because we all kind of came away with like, I don't really care how you do your thing, but you do your thing well, and that's good. Yeah. So that's sort of how I feel about it.
What, and your stepfather was a alcoholic. Anybody else in your family?
My dad was.
My dad was too.
But I didn't grow up with him. My parents, this is crazy. I always thought that my parents split up when I was 4, and that we lived with my grandparents for about a year, and then my mom got remarried. But apparently, I was talking to my aunt. She's like, "Oh no, that's not what happened at all." She was like, "You were born, and about 9 months later, maybe a year, they split up." And so I basically didn't grow up with a dad from 1 till about 4. But in my memory, based on just piecemeal bits of information I got, I went from dad disappearing to new dad.
When did you learn the truth about that?
Well, this past Thanksgiving.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Just in an idle conversation, because in doing all this, the kind of work stuff, there's a big thing in the South of you either you either reframe history as you sort of focus on the good things and the bad things don't exist, or you just don't talk about history, which implies that only bad things happen.
Right.
So I think I was kind of given a lot of like the small tidbits of like good information, and then the other stuff they're like, well, we just don't talk about that.
But does that drive you crazy though?
Oh yes. Oh my
it's
God.
about you. I mean, that affects you.
Oh, totally. It drives me bonkers.
That stuff happens in my family too.
Yeah.
And I'm still dealing with it. And I'm like, how can you keep that information from me for my entire, you know what I mean?
It's interesting generationally, the attitude of, well, it's better just not to deal with stuff. Compartmentalization, which probably comes out of growing up during the Depression or, in certain periods where if you really looked at things too much, you would lose your mind.
Right.
Well,
generationally speaking, you mentioned, my sister's doing the same thing right now. She's just doing it with her children. They I have an eye disease. I'm going blind.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They have it too.
Oh, really?
And they don't know about it yet. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you've been like, you gotta tell them.
Yeah, I did that years ago. I was my sister and I got into a thing, and I was like, "Hey, you had to tell them, because I didn't get told until I was in my 20s and all this stuff, and it's really traumatizing."
Yeah.
And it's like a bomb goes off.
Right.
And
the sooner you can have ownership of something, the less that it feels like it's a bomb. Like you can slowly diffuse the bomb, or you can sort of prepare the blast area or whatever.
All the above.
Yeah.
And I read that you didn't meet your biological dad till you were 17. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what happened? Where'd he disappear to from the age of 1?
I don't know
entirely. Your sister was older.
Yeah, she's 3 years older.
Does she have a memory of your dad?
She does. She does. She's the kind of person, like siblings a lot of times have a different experience of that stuff. And I think hers was just the compartmentalization, or kind of like it's not happening. Because she, when she and her first husband split up, she was doing some work, and she's at one point she said, "Do you remember that Dad used to like drink and get kind of crazy?" I was like, "That's pretty much all I think about. What are you talking about?" She's like, "I didn't. It just hit me." Like
the stepdad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and she's older, and so I figure her perspective on it was like that she was in it, but she kind of like shut it down. So I don't know at her.
How crazy would he get? Like,
he would
like throw stuff or something.
He got violent. Yeah.
To your mom.
To my mom, and then if we intervened, he would sort of take it on us. And he grew up in the mountains of North Carolina, just legacy chaos, just systematic built in.
What attracted your mom to him? And I guess
I don't
maybe
know.
That's her type, right? I mean, she heard the other.
But that's the
husband
thing.
Was
the only thing I can figure out, because she didn't. Her dad died when she was, I think 4 or 5, and then soon after that,
like cancer,
heart attack, I think. And then I think my grandmother remarried pretty quickly after that, like a year or 2. So I don't know if there's something in that, a loss of her father, and then but my grandfather's great. He's super sweet, totally supportive, all this kind of stuff. But I don't know if that just wasn't handled well, and for herself, it flipped some switch. Yeah. But for whatever reason, she chose my biological father, who, once they got married, she discovered he had a drinking problem and a little bit of a drug problem. And then split up and kind of just pot, but at the time, pot was like heroin. Literally, like people were like
reefer madness.
Yeah, because I smoke pot, and if my aunt actually happens to stumble upon this podcast, which will never happen, I think she would just be like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" Like her perspective is, But it took her a while. Like a couple of years ago, my sister was having a glass of wine at Thanksgiving and stuff, and I could see her kind of like really scared that it's like, oh no, it's continuing the legacy, and we're
The
like
drinking?
Yeah, and we're like we're fine, we're totally fine.
Have there been instances? Have you felt that way of like maybe it's because it's kind of genetic, and also you can be raised around it?
I had such a paranoia about it.
Yeah. You went the other way, maybe.
I went the other way. Yeah. I experimented a little bit in college with it, or in high school, just a little bit. I don't like how alcohol makes me feel. I like, a little relaxation.
Like being ripped and healthy.
I love being ripped. Again, touch right here. Feel how firm that is. It's crazy, right? I feel so comfortable around you. This is so great. But I just I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to stumble onto something.
Yeah, right.
But I do like pot, but I stayed away from. I would have a little bit, and then I'd be like, no, I just can't. I'll get
pot.
Yeah, and now I'm like, I think I seem to be able to keep myself together.
Vape pot guy, or
very recently I became a vape pot guy.
Yeah, I hear that's the best way to do it.
It is. It's a different kind of high, but only like in the past year, and maybe it's with age, and like I think this might be the right kind of high that I need.
That you like? Yeah. Do you take it like just to take the edge off? You take it to go to sleep, or all the above?
I take it. I love to go to music shows and smoke. Concerts. I like to call them music program shows. Music gatherings.
Okay, go ahead.
Movies. Yeah, I'll do like twice a week, just kind of on my own. Yeah. I like to take the dogs for a walk. I love taking pictures when I'm a photographer. Yeah. So it's always been, for me, it's always been sort of like connected to creativity stuff. It's not. There was a period, I will admit, where in my marriage and my career where things were just a shit show, and I was kind of using it to take the edge off and escape. And my ex and I have talked about that, and she was like, it was very triggering for her, but she allowed it because the flip side of it was too close to what was even more triggering for her, like my own anxiety about work and sort of like some anger around it and expression that was tough for her. So
how do you deal with your anger now? Like, do you have fits of anger? Do you notice yourself like going, fuck, I'm turning into... I
am more aware now because my anger was a low constant. My anger was a kind of like blaming others. Everyone else is responsible for my suffering. I'm a victim. It's like victimization. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it was like a constant simmer, which is almost worse.
Yeah.
I heard an interview with Paul Rust, you know him?
Oh, yeah.
There's this great show called the Mental Health Happiness Hour podcast. I don't mean to advertise another podcast.
No, please, go ahead.
But it's about sort of like and it's just about just mental health issues, and different people come on and talk about their own stuff.
And he was on that, or did he host it?
He was on that. He was a guest on that. But he was talking about, like, he's a very nice guy. He's very concerned with other people's feelings, and they're, making sure they're okay. He's like, but like, I'm also an angry guy. And they were talking about, like, that's almost worse when you see the nice guy who suddenly becomes angry. And I think that's sort of what...
I'm like that.
Yeah.
I'm like that.
I can be that way.
There's probably a dozen people in the world that would be like, EJ's a dick. Because they saw it.
Yeah.
They saw that bad side of me. Which I don't think... Sometimes people go, oh, that's the real side. When you see something negative about somebody, people go, that's the real side of that person.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe. I think just because I think everybody has different colors in their personalities and stuff. And just because something pops out once in a blue moon doesn't mean that's who they really are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, one of the hardest things, after splitting up, the feedback I got was, and I couldn't make sense of it, but my ex was like, you're a very angry person. And I was like, I'm not. Like, I don't scream at you. I don't hit you or anyone. I don't throw things. Like, and she's like, I know, but there's just you're just angry about what is happening. You're just angry about your lot in life. And she's like, as someone who's intimate with you and supportive of you, it's eroding me. And I was like, yeah, I got it. And, I literally got a book. I got a book from the library about anger management for dummies. And I went through there, and I was like, I do that. And then after that, I started to kind of realize, like, two of my friends had it even worse than me. Yeah. And it just manifests itself in just like driving around.
Rob Corddry,
fucking angry as hell. Oh my God. All the Robs, Rob Riggle, Rob Hubel. If you're named Rob, it's just rage on the butt. I don't know.
Perfectly put.
Yeah.
Well, so that was nice of you to ask her, or even you guys to share that moment together. Were you still married at that point, I guess?
Yeah, this was the sort of like, why is this happening?
So, but you were open enough to kind of read a book about it and that's how I am, and let me examine that. The divorce I was very determined to not have my marriage and not have the fact that we're getting divorced feel like a failure, because I did feel like a failure. It did feel like a failure. And I didn't want it to feel like a waste, that us being together was, all right, well, great. That's 12 years. That was just pointless. Down the troops.
Well,
that's too bad. I hate it when people say stuff like that, that way. Because you spent a good amount of time. You must have some good memories.
Oh, no. I mean, it in a weird, incredibly painful way, it's like a blessing, you know what I mean? Because it has sort of like shifted me to see myself and my life in a very different way in my past. That's the dog. That's not
my dog is sleeping.
Not me doing some weird ventriloquist thing.
My dog's sleeping under the table.
He's having nightmares. He's having a dream of like wrestling a goose.
Sorry about that.
But it's I was just like, it was so painful that I was like, I couldn't sustain the pain that I was feeling around it.
It's okay. Woo! It's all right. Wow. He scared himself. It's all right, pal.
All this introspective talk is just like making the dog uncomfortable.
Yeah, right.
Guys, talk about...
Go lay on the couch. So did you guys do couples counseling or anything like that?
We did. It was like a very last minute
ditch effort
thing.
It didn't work out.
Yeah.
But you made a daughter out of it.
We made a great daughter.
And are you guys pretty friendly?
We are. We're great.
Yeah, okay.
We're great.
That's good for the kid, too.
It's good for the kid. I mean, I honestly, like yesterday, talked to her about my own feelings about, like, I just did a gig up in Vancouver for 2 weeks. And when I go away, it's interesting because I get to experience myself in totality, just myself, almost like as a bachelor. You know what I mean? I don't have any responsibility that's there. I know my daughter's taken care of, and so I'm like, cool, I'm getting to experience this other part of myself. But I always have a moment where I'm like, oh, but I'm only getting to really experience this because I don't have anybody. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it always goes back to like, yes, but right now I don't have a significant other.
Right.
And when I go away, my daughter has this sort of, she does this going between the two houses, but when she's with that parent, it's kind of just about that parent. And it's hard for her to kind of, even if we call up, she's like very minimal in her conversation with us and stuff. Because I think she needs to kind of like, I'm just here with this person. And it's maybe painful for her to miss mom or dad when she's at the other house. So
yeah, maybe it's weird for the two of you to be together. Or
I thought we've been starting to do that more. And there's a really cool moment where we went to an ice cream place, and she was holding my ex's hand, and then she pulled me in and like held me around the waist and was holding all three.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And I was like, that's great.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It's cute.
How old is she?
She's 10.
10. Wow.
Yeah.
What is she like?
She's
Is she funny?
She is very funny.
Does she have a anger simmering under the surface?
In doing all this stuff, I'm like, anytime she displays codependent behavior, I'm like, oh shit, it continues. What the hell? That's
legacy.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears was just that thing. You're like, oh God, seriously, despite all best efforts. But she's very, very funny. She's very smart. She has a little, as far as like that codependent thing, she doesn't like praise. She's not comfortable with sort of attention, but I think that's also this age. Like apparently at age 10, they go through a lot of self-metamorphosis, but they don't want any focus about it. They don't want any attention about it. So she recently shaved the back of her head, got this radical new haircut, dyed her hair, started to cut the sleeves off her shirts.
At 10?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's wearing like combat boots.
Whoa.
She reads like at a 8th grade, 9th grade level.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. I do too, literally.
Big deal.
All right, great. I can cut sleeves on my shirt. I don't care. What's the big deal, man?
Well, it's nice that you guys get to spend, does she do like every other week with you or something like that?
We do half and half, so it's 50-50.
Half weeks?
No. She's like Sunday to Wednesday with me, Wednesday morning,
Okay.
and then she's with her, and then every other Saturday we flip back and forth.
And does she get to go to the same school and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to find a new school because I think she's kind of bored at just
Okay.
aiming low. She's kind of slipping into that. She's seen all this sort of like, oh, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this either. Or if I just do it this way, it's like half the work. So.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that too.
Yeah, I know.
How little can I do to get through these years?
Yeah, and I want to talk to her. Like we've sort of been trying to sell her on the idea of like, school's your job, right?
Right.
You don't want to sort of feel like you work at a factory. You want to love your job. Like I love my job, and your mom loves her work. So,
But you're not getting paid.
yeah, you're not getting paid. I know, but it's just basically it's just selling her on the idea is like if you're going to the time you invest in anything, you should find joy in it. And and if it's not bringing you joy, figure out why not, and how to find it and stuff. Which to a 10-year-old, you might as well just be going.
Yeah.
Joy.
But when growing up, so when did your mom stay with your stepdad?
She did. She stayed.
Still?
No, they both passed away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
How'd they pass? Can I ask that?
My dad, when he turned 12, his birthday gift was a carton of cigarettes.
When he turned 12?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he smoked.
He smoked. I mean, it was like support the state crop of tobacco.
Right.
Just smoked relentlessly, and so
He got cancer, I guess.
he didn't get cancer. He got pneumonia, and he was taking so many different so much medication to kind of clear his lungs up and build his immune system up, that when he got pneumonia, his system wasn't strong enough to fight it. So it went septic in his system, and then he passed.
How old was he?
He was, I think, I want to say 65, 63.
Pretty young.
Yeah, and then my mom died 2 years later, and she had breast cancer, and she beat it, but then the medication she had, she was like the person is like the point, the 1% that would have a reaction to it.
Oh, God.
So,
I'm sorry about
yeah,
that.
it sucks.
But they stayed together that whole time.
They did.
Wow.
They did. And she almost, she's like, get your act together. I'm going to go to therapy, or I'm going to divorce you. And, went through all this.
Did he ever get his act together?
He did.
Really?
Yeah. He got his act together. He quit drinking.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. He used to be a pastor before they were married. And
of course.
Yeah, of course. And he felt very betrayed by his church because his first marriage fell apart, and he had actually had a nervous breakdown because she cheated on him, and he found out all this crazy stuff about it. And
Good guy.
I know,
Oh, wow.
Faulkner novel. And And then so he went back to the church. He's like, well, I'm just glad I have the community of the church to support me. And they're like, actually, no, because your wife was a whore and you're crazy, so we don't want you around. And he just was like, all right.
Meanwhile, everybody else in that church is crazy.
Yeah, totally. They're all just like shitting on each other's chests secretly. It was a sexual practice. But so he gave it up, and he was very angry about that stuff, and he sort of just like renounced the church for a long time. But then later on in life, he started to go. My mom started to go to church again, and then he reluctantly started to go and realized that he liked it. Like he told me one time, is like, I was trying to be approach Christianity from like a deeply spiritual point of view, where it was, I felt God's presence in me. It's like, now I realize, like, I approach it from a philosophical point of view, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying, like, it doesn't matter how you access the wisdom or insight or serenity, but if you do, it's great. And so he was able to kind of access it by coming at it from a different perspective of just like, oh, well, what the Bible's saying philosophically or morally, ethically is great. So I'll put that into practice. But when he was trying to be like, yes, the Word of God is coming through me, it was false.
Right.
So I was glad that he had that, that he was able to kind of come back to it.
What's your view on religion?
Basically what I said earlier. Like, I don't have
the happiness.
Yeah, I don't have a judge. I mean, I feel like it's all the same thing.
You think there's
at its core, like if the teachings of any good religion is kind of a roadmap or just a prescription for like how to live. What I don't like is when it's bastardized. Just like, I mean, with what's going on right now, I feel like we're bastardizing the sort of basic roadmap of the Constitution. With the gun control, it's like this whole thing of, I literally had somebody, I've been posting out of just
get the anger simmering.
Yeah,
me too. By the way, this Trump thing,
yeah.
has that since he's gotten into office, have you felt completely different? I have.
That's why, like, I think I've been so charmed by Canada, because I was just like, yeah, I don't, it feels awful to just feel cynical and hopeless and angry and finger pointing. And as much as I can, I try to, even if I encounter like a Trump person, I always engage them. I was like, I want to know why you believe, why you think this is a good president, how he speaks to you. And I always kind of push towards what is the common ground, like, because
have you found any?
The common ground is that people just want to feel safe. People just want to feel.
And for some reason, Donald makes them feel safer than anyone else.
But for some reason, he speaks to.
You're from North Carolina,
right?
You must know a lot of people that voted for him.
Kind of. I was shocked. Like, one of my relatives, Aunt Katie, is really into him, which is really like
my whole family voted for him.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I feel like it's always. Most of the time, it's been he speaks to one thing that they like. Well, I agree with them on that, but they don't.
Hate Mexicans.
Well, yeah, but if you take a step back from hating Mexicans, it's like, I hate Mexicans because I feel unsafe financially, and the bigger picture is I feel outnumbered and helpless to change that's happening.
And plus, I don't like their accents.
And besides, their food's too spicy, and I have stomach issues. So if that's going to be the national diet, and so it's, I just always feel like people, I mean, they voted out of self-protection and fear.
Yeah.
But that's where I feel like if everybody's like, all right, look, everybody, if the apocalypse happens, people are killing each other because they want to be safe.
Right.
It would be better if the apocalypse happens, we'll probably all be safer if we work together,
right,
than executing each other. But that's
I look at like a Walking Dead or any of those apocalyptic type movies where it's just like, instead of everybody working together, everybody's gonna shoot each other instead, and it's just gonna be craziness.
Well,
like that too.
I was gonna say, there's this guy who's very, very sweet, and he's like, I'm curious, why do you think we need gun control laws? And I was like, well, let me just start with an example that happened recently this week. But his response was, well, I feel like this country was founded, or we wouldn't have this country if there weren't for guns. Guns is what allowed us to sort of fight for our freedom.
Got to kill the Indians with guns.
We got to whatever, and so
we got to threaten slaves with guns.
Yeah, we got to always
rule over them.
The fact that we had guns gave us power, and so that means it's our right to have that power. But my bigger interpretation is like, well, so you're interpreting a tool that was used to sort of fight as
War.
Emblematic of something greater, as emblematic of like our independence and the backbone of America is sort of like fighting for what's right and justice and stuff. And it's like, and if you think about it, it's like, well, no, that the Constitution is that, or the Declaration of Independence is the expression of that. Guns was just the tool we used. Like if it had been, I don't know, anthrax, it's like we wouldn't be protecting our right for everyone to have anthrax. It's like,
I want as much anthrax in my home.
Yeah, it's like,
and if you don't think I should have it, I'm going to get more.
hey man, listen, this is just the expression of who I am. I'm an anthrax owner. I love anthrax. My family would go out, have anthrax parties.
Don't you dare tell me.
Don't you pry this anthrax from my cold dead hand, which caused me to die because I had anthrax in my hand.
Oh my God, it's so depressing.
It is overwhelming, man.
Las Vegas thing just happened a couple days ago.
I can't take it, man. I'm like,
he had 47 guns in 3 locations. That's what I read.
Did you hear about all the cameras he had set up?
I heard he had cameras inside, and
He had the cameras set up. He had those bumper cartridge or something, bumper thing
because it turns a semi-automatic weapon into an automatic weapon, which now they're saying should be illegal, which is surprising because semi-automatic weapons are illegal. Right. Semi-autos are not. But then you have this thing that you could sell legally to make a semi an auto.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, and that's how he was able to hit 600 people or whatever.
500
in 10
people.
minutes.
Yeah, it's
from 30-second story window.
Yeah, I foolishly watched on New York Times website. They had footage from the body cameras of the cops, and it's just them kind of being scared like we are, but just hearing it.
I know, it's terrifying.
And I watched it before I went to sleep last night, and I was like, why did I do that?
Why did I do that?
Why the fuck did I do that?
Where's my pot?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Where's
how can I escape?
Oh, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done pot since I was 20, and then this year I've been trying edibles.
Oh, really?
And then I'm thinking of trying to vape. But I used to smoke cigarettes, so I smoked for 15 years.
Oh, you think it might sort of like...
I just don't want to put more stuff in my lungs. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just in case. I don't know. No. It might be fine.
It could be just that sort of ritualistic gesture, and, it could kind of... Well, you know what? Maybe I'll just smoke some regular... Oh, I'll have a cigarette. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't want to fall back into...
It's a gateway drug to smoking.
Yeah.
You don't want to
smoking pot?
Smoking pot leads to smoking cigarettes.
Is that true? You think so?
I just made that up.
Oh, okay.
But with such authority.
I believed it. Did you ever think about getting into politics? Were you ever this political? I've never been this political.
No. Because I think I have a pretty naive... simplistic approach to things where I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Can we just get along? Just be reasonable. Oh, you're not being reasonable? Well, I can't. I don't know. I give up.
Let's buy more guns. Well, I mean, you even posted, I was looking at your Twitter and Instagram and stuff, and you posted that the people that, now there's a surge in buying guns because of what happened. Right. That always happens after a mass shooting. Yep. The gun stock goes up because people are buying all the guns. Yeah. Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. And that's, again, it's like, it's crazy because everybody's scared. Like, I had the same thing. I was like, well, I started picturing, you take two steps to, like we were saying, apocalypse. And, like, if people come in our house, my 2 small dogs are just going to smell them and walk them in, and then they take over. I don't know what else. You get a security
stuff, good security in your house. And
it's the apocalypse, man. Those guys are gonna hunker down in their bunkers. They're not gonna come help us.
Oh God. There could be an apocalypse with Trump. There could be. I mean,
there could be a nuclear war. It's fucking crazy.
Did you how many people in your family voted for Trump that you know? Your aunt.
My aunt.
Your sibling, your
Doug
sister?
did. My second cousin Doug did. I don't know exactly. I think my great aunt and her son did, but just out of kind of. Well, I mean he's Republican, so I guess very kind of blind.
Right.
This is what we always do.
This is how it's done here.
But I was talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, he's not very good."
It's like going to the body shop and just go, well, I'll use him. He's Republican.
Yeah.
He's not doing a very good job on my car.
I'm just fascinated by people's level of denial and sort of like, I don't know, their selective perspective on what's happening. It was like, I don't know. Just, I mean, I think for some people, like, well, Melania is beautiful. She looks like what a first lady should look like. That's great. And he, I remember when there's one speech he made where he didn't go off script. Right. And even the media was they were like, well, maybe he's becoming presidential now. And so presidential is just reading the script?
Yeah. That means newscasters are presidential.
Yeah, totally. I'm presidential. I should be great at this stuff.
Anybody can be presidential. Well, true. I love it when they show the video of him campaigning. He goes, I could be presidential. It's so easy. And then he mockingly comes out walking and says hello to people and blah, blah, and gestures. And it's exactly what he does when he's reading the teleprompter. Like he's just faking it. And he said during the campaign, I can fake it.
Yeah. It's
once in a while.
It's a fucking game. He's a malignant narcissist.
Oh, it screwed up my relationship with a lot of my family members.
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I read an article about that. Like couples have split up, and but it is like it's sort of like waking up one day and be like, "Hold on, you're a Nazi? When did you become a Nazi?"
Like my family. So we're all from Long Island. Mm-hmm. I mean, most of us.
Which is Long Island largely conservative? Okay.
Yeah, they voted for Trump.
Yeah,
and so and I guess I didn't piece together like the conservative or Republican or anything with my family. Mm-hmm. I know when I would go home, they would badmouth Barack Obama, and I couldn't figure out why.
Right. He's super black. I mean,
very black.
He's so black.
And even though he's half black, he's very black.
He's not even American.
He's a Muslim.
That was a funny. At one point in my family, someone was trying desperately not to say that it was because he was black.
Yeah,
and it was just really. I mean, it was super sad. But I was like, oh, so what do you mean, Chris? Like, why are you trying to say? Well, you know how he is. He's just. I was like, oh, no, I don't. I mean, I know how he's great, but it just was like.
He's like Arsenio.
Yeah, he has this kind of like urban approach to things. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
He's a very dark approach.
he's a dark horse candidate, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God, so sad. So as bad as Trump was, and as much of that stuff is in my family, I didn't think they would vote for him.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I was going, nobody I know is going to vote for Trump, and then it turns out almost everybody voted for him.
Did you sort of go around? I mean, were you like, why did you do this?
Well, they're just gonna say all the others, whatever you hear people say, it's the same things.
Yeah.
But it'll also be excuses like they don't want to say they're racist.
Yeah.
They don't want to say it's because it's a Mexican issue or something like that. But it's gonna be safety. I'm worried about my safety and stuff like that.
Or the thing that drives me crazy is like people are like, well, I mean, Hillary's a liar.
Right. There's that
or the lesser of two evils. And I'm like,
you
the
ignored
dumber of two evils.
All of Trump's lies.
Yeah,
like if you're calling her a liar, have you paid attention at all?
But I think that is totally true. Like people,
it's all compartmentalizing.
Yeah, people will hear what they want to hear and how, and that's what I was sort of saying. Like, if he speaks or even just sort of like acknowledges an issue that feels like it's connected to what they're concerned with,
right?
You can be like, well, yeah, no,
I feel like he's echoing whatever thoughts they've had in their head.
Yeah,
and they go, oh, that's validation.
Yeah,
and conspiracy theorists love Trump.
Yeah,
they love him.
Yeah,
because he's crazy too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't. Asking about if I ever do politics, I just I don't think I could survive the crippling amount of concessions and compromises and sort of moral adjustments people have to make to get to the end goal that is maybe a good thing. You know what I mean? Really want this, I really want healthcare for everybody, so I'll cut a bunch of fucking deals with all these other things that will compromise my belief in XXX. You know what I mean? That's what I think is great. Veep does an amazing job of that kind of just plate spinning that just crumbles on everybody.
That's an amazing show. I love that show so much.
Yeah.
Did you get to hang out with them at the Emmys this year?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because you've been in a handful of episodes over the years.
Yeah.
And stuff, so.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Will you be back for the final season?
I will. There was a thing at the end of the last season where Matt Walsh gets fired from his position and I take his job. So I'm hoping
out with the Walsh.
Oh, fuck Walsh, one of my best friends. But I kind of with that show, I could be in one episode and I get fired too. But it was really cool. I was like, oh, I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
you should replace Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Literally
in real life.
Yeah, I'd love to work with Trump.
I would love to see somebody like you work for that and come out and go, you wouldn't believe the shit that's going on back there. This is what they want me to tell you. This is the lie they want me to tell you.
It is here's a real horse abortion I'm about to give you guys right now. It's real insane.
So you are a photographer, and on your Instagram you have 4,300 pictures.
Yeah, I have a problem, I guess.
But that's good. I mean, I was scrolling through it, and you take some nice pictures.
Oh, thanks.
So it's very nice.
Thanks.
So do you just do that randomly? Do you just grab your phone and just see something kind of cool, or is that professional cameras too? No, that's just phone. It's just if I see something cool, and I'll go on. If I go on a wandering. Wander around, just I'm just going to take pictures. I'll just sort of try to find stuff. It's I like using that part of my brain. Yeah. It's it's just sort of looking at something from a different perspective or whatever. And you moved to New York to do photography. Yeah. You were an assistant to somebody. I moved to New York to go to this place called the International Center of Photography, which is a year-long certificate program. And then I started to assist and try to do my own stuff. And then I kind of realized I didn't really want to do it. And how'd you get to be roommates with Rob Corddry? Did that happen right away? Through mutual friends, a mutual friend that he was working with at Scholastic Books when he was temping there and trying to be an actor. He initially hated me. He thought I was he didn't know. You were angry. No, well, yeah. Well, I presented myself. He didn't realize I was doing a bit, but every time he would run into me, I would do this bit to my friend that I was I just talked about how I had been gallery hopping all day and my mind was awash with imagery and iconic imagery. And he just thought I was that guy. He thought I was this super pretentious photographer because I'd show up with a camera around my neck and saying that stuff. That's funny. And then one night we went out to dinner, a big group of us, and we ended up sitting across from each other. And then over the course of the table, he was like, "Hey, you're cool." I was like, "Thank you." And he's like, "No, I thought you were a dick. I hated you for the longest. I hated you." So we had this breakthrough. How long were you living together before you stopped hating you? Oh no, we didn't. We didn't. We had to get over the hate before it allowed the living. Okay, that's good. So he stopped hating me, and then I needed a place to live, and he was going on tour with the National Shakespeare Company. So he's like, "Why don't you take my room?" Whoa, National Shakespeare Company. It sounds fancier than it was. That's pretentious of him. Yeah. He put national on anything. It sounds fancy. And then I took his room. And then when he came back, I was like, "Your roommates are insane." He was like, "Oh, yeah, I hate them." And I was like, "Why don't we live together?" And so we just became roommates. And then we were roommates for
I think like 5 years.
Oh wow!
But he's the person who got me in the comedy. So
That's what I was going to ask. So he already doing improv at that time?
he was starting. He got in with a sketch group, and he was like, "You're kind of funnier than my sketch group. We should do." And he liked just my sensibility, so we talked about doing our own thing, and we would go to open mic nights and just sit there and not get up, just be chicken shit for about a year.
Yeah.
And then he started to do Upright Citizens Brigade, and I was still terrified of sort of taking the plunge.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did
then,
you guys start seeing him in shows and stuff like that? And then that's what got you into it?
I can't remember if I saw him in a show. He just talked about it, and I think I was just like maybe one session behind him.
Okay.
Maybe two, can't remember. But then once I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, this makes sense to me. Because I tried all these different entry points in the comedy and acting and stuff, and I just kept getting thwarted, or it just wasn't. I mean, the through line was like whatever makes sense to you, or like whatever makes sense for your brain to access the truth or your truth. That's great. And so like stand up wasn't my truth. Doing theater classes definitely wasn't my truth, because I was like, I hate everybody in here. They're all pretentious. I didn't like the sort of approach to it. Mm-hmm. But improv, I was like, oh, I've been doing this all my life. Yeah. Like this is just what I do with my friends. And
very natural.
Yeah. And it tied to like when I played in the band. It was very familiar in that sense of like, it's a community, but it's also like little collectives, and it's individual expression, but you have support.
What kind of band was it?
It's sort of it was called Bicycle Face, and it's like garage rock meets camper van Beethoven, kind of like humorous lyrics, but
Was it a goof band? Was it just a goof?
No. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. Like we were very serious about it, but our lyrics, just because of who we were I guess more like sort of They Might Be Giants. Like I don't think They Might Be Giants thinks that we're like, oh, we're a joke band. There's like, this is just kind of how we,
What'd you play? Did you play guitar?
Play bass.
Play bass. Did you sing too?
A little bit. It was more the guitarist.
Is there an album out there?
If you want to go to iTunes,
is there?
There's like a best of of our.
There's a best of?
Yeah, there's a best of, because
How many albums did you have?
Well, we did one album. There were these two guys started this record company called Moist Records, and they were basically like a couple of trust fund kids who started. And in North Carolina, in Chapel Hill, there was this, like when Superchunk and Archers of Loaf and Polvo all came out, there's this like, oh, this is the new Seattle. As after there's Athens and there's Seattle, and this is the new one. So everybody put all this focus on that. So everybody's kind of signing up bands and stuff, and we got swept up in it, which is great. We got to go on little tours and that kind of thing.
So it's the best of that label?
No, it's the best of just like we did like singles for different other little labels, and then our own sort of like, it's got like 4-track recordings and unreleased stuff, just a bunch of stuff. It's called the Remastered Bastards, and it's like all this stuff that sort of didn't get out there as much.
All right, so go check that out.
It's pretty cool.
Do you get a cut?
Oh, I don't think I've gotten a single penny from it. And I'm very sympathetic to musicians. Like, I don't know how you make any money.
So when you were doing UCB with Rob and stuff, did you guys, you must have performed a lot together.
Oh, constantly. That was the New York, being in New York during that time was, it was all about like performing as often as you could. And
you had all 4 founders as teachers. Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah.
Who'd you like the best out of the 4? Do you remember? Which is Ian Roberts, Matt Besser, Matt Walsh, Amy Poehler.
I think Walsh.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they all. It's really interesting. Like they are all different sides of the same cube, and they all fulfilled really key sort of elements of accessing different parts of your own improv ability or your own acting ability, even because Besser was like a terrifying terrifying teacher.
Yeah,
and
I
so
had
you,
him.
yeah. So you wanted to win his approval. You wanted to sort of like get that tiny.
I gave up at one point.
Yeah. You wanted him to be like, "Good job," and you'd be like, "Oh my god, I made it." Amy was very nurturing, but also very truthful and direct. Ian was very. He was like a mixture of like logic and philosophy. Like he would be very practical about how to sort of approach things, and then he would be like, "Well, why would we do that? Why would we say that?" And I think Walsh was just maybe he's closest to my sort of like approach to it. But he was just very reactive. Like if something happened, he would talk about it. He'd talk about it in without any pretense. Without sort of like making it seem more important, ultimately it was like, you're just doing this because it makes you happy, and we all want to be funny and stuff. He's sort of like, I appreciate sort of like a practical approach to art.
Did you ever teach?
Yes.
As well?
Yes.
How were you as a teacher?
Oh God, the worst. Everybody hated me. Hated me.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. Just I'm known as Diarrhea Bag. Back in the day.
It's a good band name.
It's a good one, and that one didn't take off. I think it was good. The feedback I've gotten, I've had people like write to me on Facebook. It's like, "Hey, just let you know, you were great." So
that's nice.
Yeah.
And how long has it been since you taught?
Long
time, probably.
Yeah, it's probably been a few years. I started to get to the point where I could tell that I was getting burnt out, or I was getting resentful that I was teaching instead of auditioning.
Yeah. Did you teach in LA? Or just in New York? Oh, in LA too. Yeah,
and that's where I started to be like, all right, I'm out here to do this other thing. I'm doing this for money and stuff, but I kind of took the plunge of like, I feel like ultimately I was shortchanging some people, because like when I had teachers who were like, all right, let's get up on them, I could tell that they didn't want to be there. I was like, fuck you, man, you work for me. I'm paying for this service.
Did you ever do Chicago stuff?
No. You mean like take classes and stuff?
Yeah, or do the Chicago scene.
No.
You were in I didn't see it yet, the Del Close documentary.
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, but you're in it, right?
I don't know.
You're credited as being in it.
I think maybe they just have a scene that I'm in or something. I got interviewed for it.
Yeah. I think you're in it.
Yeah.
I think you're in it.
I think I'm brilliant.
You're probably brilliant.
Probably.
And then you did a show with some guys at UCB, I guess New York, Naked Babies?
Yep, that's Corddry and Seth Morris and John Bowie.
John Ross Bowie.
Yes.
And you guys did sketch and improv and stuff like that?
Yeah, and that was sort of...
I may have seen you.
Our thing. We did some improv shows out here a few times.
Maybe I saw you.
We were really good.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you don't remember that. You just remember me being a bad teacher without experiencing it.
Do you still perform?
Yeah, I do a show as often as I can every Friday called Soundtrack.
Oh, you do Soundtrack. Mm-hmm. No Ass Cat? You're not doing that stuff?
No. They will be like, they'll call me the day of. Hey, can you do Ask Cat tonight? And I'm just at that point now. I was like, no, I can't drop everything in my life to come run and do it.
But Soundtrack, that's improv to different music.
We get people's iPods,
right? And
then we have a DJ who just selects stuff.
Is that with Sheer?
No, it's me, Jason Mantzoukas, Andy Secunda, Brian Gallivan, Gene Villapeak.
Oh, yeah, great people.
Yeah, Tammy Sager sits in with us sometimes. Yeah, she's awesome. Jesse Falcon, our crew, Scott Armstrong. We sort of have at most we usually have 4 or 5 people because everybody's schedules are a little crazy.
You just named 10 people.
I know, so it's sort of and it's been a crazy rotation of Zach Woods did it for a while, Jessica St. Clair, Lennon Parham, but everybody gets busy, so.
Those are great.
Yeah, they're good people.
Great people.
They're awesome, great people.
I will come see you as soon as I can.
Do it. I'll get you on the list, and you'll save what, $10?
I'll take it.
No big deal.
I'll take it.
Connections.
So Corddry's doing all right. It's cool seeing I love hearing those stories of my roommate was Dustin Hoffman or, Rob Corddry. Like, it's cool. Like, these two people are both successful that just came together at one point.
Yeah.
And then on their own, they're even doing very well. It's just neat to hear that stuff.
It's interesting.
My roommate, I had roommates, they're not doing anything.
Well, the vetting process for roommates is you gotta ask them, are you gonna be successful later? Am I gonna get anything out of this? Fuck you. I passed on. I could have been roommates with Judd Apatow. I blew that one. Totally.
That would have been a good one.
Oh my god.
Because he was roommates with Adam Sandler.
I know.
You know,
it's a different
crazy?
different crew.
So your first IMDb credit is X-Files in 1993.
Not okay. Well, that's weird. Not on that, but
you're in the new one.
I'm in the new one. I just got back. That's the thing I was in Vancouver for this past.
Is there any chance you're playing the same character from 1993?
I don't think so because I never was in the one from 1993.
What? What do you mean?
I was not on that. I don't know why that's on my.
That's on your. You have a character name and everything.
Seriously?
Yeah.
On the 1993.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
I'm also credited with being on Haunted Houses of the South or something.
Okay, so there's 160 credits.
There's
How many are real?
about six
Six
or seven.
Still pretty good.
I have a bunch of bots that are just generating credits for me.
Russian bots.
Yeah, Russian bots.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. Okay, that's too bad.
I gotta look at that. I have to. Maybe
it'd be funny if you just forgot you just filmed.
Oh yeah, before I even started. Yeah.
Because I saw the
1993.
picture.
That would be. I would be. That's before I even started acting.
Oh,
way before. I didn't start.
That's interesting. All right. Because I saw the picture that Gillian Anderson put it up.
Yeah.
Of a picture of her, Duchovny, you, and somebody else.
And the director, Darren Morgan. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, neat. And then I'm doing research on you. I'm like, oh, X-Files. He did it 25 years ago.
That's really funny. I gotta look at that.
All right. Well,
it's so hard. Like I've tried to take off that Haunted Houses of the South thing. They won't let me.
Really?
They really want me to.
Well, you did a bunch of Will Ferrell movies. He's a hero of mine.
He's great.
He's the greatest.
He's so sweet and nice.
What? And you've done Stepfather, Semi-Pro. I think there's another one. This is the End. That's not Ferrell, but that's a good one too. I like that one. What's he like just on set? Is he pretty?
He's totally
loose as a goose, or is
he's very
focused? Does he get like real focused? Like,
no.
I need a minute, guys.
No. He's totally loose and he's awesome. He's super laid back, super down to earth, chattable. Doesn't give off a vibe of kind of like that, of like I gotta get in the zone and stuff. He's just like, well, this is cool. Hey,
don't look at me.
Yeah.
No eye contact.
When we were doing Land of the Lost, we did a scene.
Land of the Lost.
Where it's us and a bunch of I take a bunch of like kindergartners in for class.
Yeah.
And they start berate them, and and he, I guess he was chatting with a couple of the kids, and then I was just sort of like waiting across the room, and he came over and he's like, okay, I'm gonna hang out with you all day because these actor kids are freaking me out. I was like, I know actor kids are terrifying.
So, what were they doing?
They're just like actor kids are just like, it's sort of like a tiny adult, like a little, in a little body. They're just like weirdly more mature and kind of like, hello, it's nice to meet you. Yes, they're just way too business savvy and way too
mature beyond their
creepy.
years.
It just sort of feels like they've been hypnotized into being hyper talented. And it's very threatening to us old people.
That is frightening.
Yeah.
You were in Meet Dave, which didn't do great in the box office, but I had the writer on my show. That's why I bring it up. And Bill Corbett. And did you get to work with Eddie Murphy?
I did a scene at the end where we're all in some escape pod or something. Okay. Not really. He was he was down there and we were sitting up here, and he would say something funny and we all laugh even if it wasn't funny.
That's funny. I'm laughing right now. You did a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. How was that?
That was cool.
That's like loose improv stuff.
Yeah. That was cool. Full disclosure, and this is something saying it. I'm like, oh, that's very don't neg on something that's great. But I had auditioned for them for so long. Yeah. And there was the last season of whenever their last
5 years ago.
Yeah.
Or something,
and they were like, look, we've always wanted to get you on the show. We just haven't found the right thing. So you're going to do this. And I was like, great. And it was a very like, I was like a bridge character between Larry David, and then the other person getting to be funny. And I was just kind of like the guy who's like looking at both of them. I was like, oh,
That's a bummer.
I worked this long. Come on, guys.
They could have you back.
Yeah.
They should have you back.
It's fine. It's all fine.
This is the end. I like that scene of "This is the end" because of speaking of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
You stick your head in like the house and then you get decapitated.
Yeah, I love that movie. That movie's so funny.
That must have been pretty fun of all those guys on set and.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was a career high. Just like my first take, they like all burst into laughter. I was like, yeah,
that's good.
I win.
What are there any out of that group? Were there any like anybody stick out from that group?
In what way?
Behaviorally?
No, I mean, Franco's an odd fella.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Danny Bride, and I was like, what's up with Franco? He is like straight up the most sincere weirdo I know. He's not doing it for anybody. He's just kind of a weird guy, but he's also brilliant. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
And you did Selfie. How'd you like doing Selfie? What's the actress's name? I'm blanking on her name.
Gillian.
Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, yeah.
She was. I met her briefly, but she was super sweet and nice.
Yeah, she's very cool. She's very down to earth. Yeah, everybody's great. Joy, Davine Randolph. Joy is on our show. I just mixed up all of her names. Davine, just go with Davine. She's on People of Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, oh, awesome. And then we knew each other. That was a weird thing. Like that, doing a network show. I think it's because I was recurring, but even on set, like you just wouldn't hang out in the same way that we ended up hanging out on People of Earth. Mm-hmm. Like she and I became good friends. I was like, why weren't we friends before? So like, I don't know. It just didn't happen.
It's because you're racist.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It took me a while.
You're from North Carolina.
I was like, you're not as black as I thought you would be. Because I'm North Carolina.
Well, you said you met your dad at 17. How'd that happen?
Oh, I like. I know. It's really funny. It's like we just now got back to that. Like,
I'm switching gears.
I'm gonna defer off of that again, and like
I'll come back to my list.
He just I think he was doing his amend stuff. He was doing AA steps. He had moved back to Charlotte to live with my grandmother and take care of her a little bit.
He lived where? Where was he for?
Well, that I don't know. I know he lived out in Los Angeles for a while. He was a magician. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sort of like a part-time. He was a jack of all trades. He was a newscaster for a while. He was a photographer. He was a magician.
Photographer.
Yeah. And I know he moved out to LA for a while and would hang out at the Magic Castle. And I don't know, this is one of those things like, I don't know if I invented this because he was literally one of my like true heroes, but I heard that he hung out with Don Knotts, which I was like, oh my God.
How do you even, so you heard that your father hung out with Don Knotts?
From my mom.
From your mom.
But this is my mom is dead.
Right.
This is some story she told us. I would randomly ask, like, tell me something about my dad. Tell me some stuff like
Don Knotts.
Yeah. And she's like, I know he hung out with Don Knotts. And I was like, but I don't know if that was like literally just one time they hung out or like if they go cruising together.
I hope they went cruising.
Yeah. Let's go tie some knots.
So your dad contacts you?
He was like, I guess he initially contacted my mom and was like, hey, I'm going to, come and see the kids.
So up until that time, have you always wanted to meet him or what was
I don't know. Like? Yeah. I mean, maybe I did. I wanted to know about him.
Mm-hmm. You knew he was alive.
Yeah, but there was the kind of like romantic hero stories I would hear about him of him being a magician and, you know, photographer, all this kind of like stuff. I was like, wow, that's cool. You work for the power company and you're a teacher. You guys are boring. This guy sounds awesome.
Right.
But then I was also fed a lot of stuff from my stepfather of how fucked up he was. So,
which is the pot calling the kettle black, right?
exactly. Yeah. Because
that guy's a raging alcoholic.
Yeah, completely. It's like, well, you just drop your beers. You told me that story. So yeah, it was that kind of thing of like, maybe I did, but just as much as I was like, well, I don't want to turn out. I always had this thing of like, I don't want to turn out like my dad, and I think I was probably saying that about both dads.
Right.
So when he showed up, I think I was like, oh, he's pretty cool. He seems pretty cool.
He was okay?
He was okay, but
Sober?
then, well, he's manic depressive.
Okay.
So I met him in a manic phase where he's like, wow, this guy's energetic and he's doing all this stuff. And he used to do this weird thing. Those are two weird stories. He would just go to like Goodwills and stuff and he'd find old electronic equipment. And he's like, and you would sort of pick out, like, you guys have this awesome NAD thing that you don't know is worth a bunch of money. And then you've got this other stuff. I'll fix all this other stuff if you give me that thing. So you would kind of haggle. Okay. And you would just amass, like, this amazing stereo equipment. And then, so he started to kind of give it to us. Oh. And so we're like, and I do remember my sister was like, this is great. He's giving us stuff. I'll hang out with him. So she was a little mercenary about it. And so there's another time he also used to dumpster dive.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
just for stuff?
Just for stuff. And so we were at his house one time, and he's like, you want some lunch? I was like, sure. He's like, you like fish? I was like, cool, great.
Food. He did food.
Yeah, he did food. And so he like made some fish and stuff. We were eating. And it was like, yeah, so I got this, go behind the A&P, and they throw out all this food. And I was like, what's going on?
Oh, they threw it out for a reason.
Yeah. It was like the date, and it's like, but I got it on the date, and I froze it, and it's fine. I was like, oh god. Oh. So he was an odd, he was a real oddball. Dude. Yeah.
Did he ever marry after your mom?
No.
Never got involved. Never had another family, anything like that.
No. I think his depression stuff was pretty bad because I got to see the other side. Like, he was really up, and then I got to, I would go over there, and he was just like in the pit, just like so dark and so helpless. And that was a weird thing for me, of like suddenly being like, I don't know this guy, and I've always been conflicted about my feelings about him, my ideas of him, and now I'm seeing this other side of him, and I feel am being made to feel responsible or take care of him, by proxy. Yeah. So yeah.
So how long did that go on for? Like, where you saw him and stuff from 17
to about 22. He passed away too. Yeah. I mean, if you're a parent of me, you're gonna die. So just get used to it.
When did he die?
Yeah. He drowned, actually.
He drowned?
Yeah.
Was he drunk?
I don't know. I really don't know. He was at he was with some friends at a party, and they were all swimming at a lake. Okay. And a huge sudden summer storm came, just like a torrential downpour and lightning and everything. So everybody like, run, get in the car. They got in the car so they wouldn't get zapped. Right. And when everybody got out of the car, they're like, where is he? And then they found him in the water.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. And I heard that's
a lot. That's a lot of weird there.
I know. So I don't know. Like, I asked, I was like, was he drunk? Like, and they were like, we don't know. We don't know what happened.
Was there drinking there? Because that would make a lot of sense.
And that's one of those things. Like, now I'm like, there's so much stuff in my family history that is big. If it's like a file I'm going through, it's like, wait, this whole page has been redacted. Like, big chunks of information where, and even in telling this now, I don't know if I got my facts right. I don't know how much revisionist history I have due to memory, because it happened when I was in college, and I was, kind of a mess in college a little bit, and I just was like, it was on the heels of him sort of showing up, and my dad, my stepfather was very threatened by it, and my girlfriend, my longtime girlfriend that I thought, I pictured we were going to get married. It was like, hey, we're going to go to college, so we should date other people. And I'm like, what? What's going on? And I squandered so much opportunity. Like, I found out about all these girls. Like, I really wanted to date you in college. I thought you were so cute. But I was just like, oh, I'm a mess.
Why do they do that? That's
that
doesn't make you feel good. It makes you feel worse.
I know. I was like, God. So like going back to that, it's just like I don't know. I don't know for certain like how much of that information is correct or how much I've sort of like.
Right.
But I know he drowned.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it was interesting. I went to the funeral with. This was a beautiful thing my stepfather did. He took me to get a suit for the funeral and went to the funeral with my sister and I. My mom didn't go. But I thought that was really, a huge thing for him to do. I think it was a very vulnerable and hopefully healing thing. Either that or he was like, yeah, he's dead. Awesome.
Yeah, look what I got.
I remember him clapping a lot at the funeral. I was like,
Did he?
well, that's interesting.
Some
Okay.
like air horns and
Yeah, he was just like, woo! So like, oh no, wait till later. Yeah. Wait till there's a wake. That's when we do it then.
Well, that must have been so weird for you to have this guy in your life 1 minute and then out of it the next.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
How'd you process all that, if you did? If you were able to.
I don't know. I mean, that's where I sort of pointed out that it was like a little bit of a mess in college because it's interesting. Like having a kid gives you so much perspective on yourself. You know what I mean? Like seeing my daughter and how she kind of experiences the world at age 10 has given me a lot of perspective on how I was probably experiencing stuff. It's a very for the parent. It's very different than it is for the kid. And so I think that goes all the way up till your brain stops forming at whatever it is, 26 or something. Like a 20-year-old's experience of all this stuff it's tough to process. Yeah. And maybe you don't even process it. I think I might have kind of been like, oh, well, I don't know. He never really was around in my life, and I felt very conflicted about it. So I'm sad, but I don't feel as genuinely sad as I feel like I should. Mm. And then I had guilt around that, and I had a lot of dad issues.
Yeah,
a lot of dad issues.
I bet you're great in bed.
I am great. Everyone has to call me daddy. I demand it.
And he passed in your early 20s. Is that
right? Yeah.
Your early 20s. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then that's wild.
Yeah, it's a strange thing of kind of. But I don't know. It's a lot of levels.
Well, what's interesting is, so I just watched your special Mr. Neighbor's House last night.
Yeah.
And towards the end of that, there's, spoiler alert, there's a big daddy thing where I never knew my father or something like that. That comes out, and I'm watching that knowing that you didn't meet your father till you were 17 and stuff. So I'm like, I wonder if there's a connection there of some kind.
Probably. I mean, I contend every single thing, my what I'm good at, what I'm drawn to comedically is an expression is me working stuff out, for better, for worse.
Right.
I think most people who do artistic stuff, I think at best are doing that. Like, I think it's healthy. You know what I mean? It's much better than me sort of cutting myself or, I don't know, doing some other weird, or taking it out on my kid or other people or whatever. I think it's incredibly, like, I'm actually proud of it. I encourage anyone who's like, do it, get it out. Like, if get
it out in a productive way instead of
reframe it, put it in a different context where it's like it doesn't have power over you. It gives power to the experience, whether it makes someone else feel uncomfortable or makes them laugh or whatever. I think that's good. So it's the kind of thing you're like writing it. I didn't think about that.
Really?
No.
That's interesting.
We really like, I mean, writing it, like, comedians love the pain. They love the, like, kind of, like, to take away a little bit of the power of it and stuff. And so it's just funny to us, that idea of, like, this really painful confrontation juxtaposed with the context of, like, a kid's show playing in a madman's head.
But when I
not funny to my aunts or my relatives, they're like, "What? This is? Are you okay?
this is bizarre.
This is really dark."
But when I mentioned, like, the father stuff at the end of your show, and did you start thinking, like, you didn't think of it at the time, but now that I mentioned you go, oh yeah, maybe that is something.
I've thought about, like, immediately after doing the special, I was like, oh, this is too much. This is too dark. This is way, I think we fucked up. This is way, but honestly, like, the very first script we wrote was about him just sort of dealing with his father. And that one I was like, I was lifting a few things.
That's all on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, but the weird thing is with that, we threw out that idea just because we didn't have a simple sort of, like, kids show framework to hang it on. It just felt like, it's like, well, this is just a weird series of events, and we needed something that was like, like, it's a birthday party, we're getting ready for a birthday party, you know. So you just kind of, like, make it simple, and then you can add, like, stuff to it.
That's a very trippy special.
Thank you.
It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse goes to hell a little.
Yeah, I was surprised that. And it's funny, sort of points out the perspective of, like, I often forget, like, oh, not everybody's comfortable with, like, really dark stuff.
Yeah. And
having, with my daughter, it's interesting, like, when she kind of says something like that for her age is a little more snide or kind of dark, I'm like, ooh, God. But I recognize in her that it's, like, kind of a little bit of, like, there's a little power to it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, like, there's a little secret itch that probably gets scratched, knowing that it's like, well, this is within the limits, but it's, like, right on the edge. I think that's a big thing with, like, comedians and stuff. It's like just getting right there, and then not too much.
Do you like being a dad?
I do. I love it.
Were you afraid of being a dad because of your own father experiences?
Weirdly not. I mean, I think I was always, scared I was gonna fuck her up, and I was terrified when we got divorced that we were messing her up. Still am, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we're doing a really good job. But I've always wanted to be a dad. I remember telling my mom when I was like 8 or something. I was like, I wanted to have kids. So.
And then you got to have a kid.
And I have a kid.
Are you dating anybody?
Seeing
anybody?
I'm going around. I've been doing the app thing.
Grindr?
Yeah, I've been doing Grindr. I've been doing Fuck Hard. I've been doing the Slut Dump. Like all the big ones.
Those really took over.
Yeah. I was surprised. The names are so subtle. I was surprised at who was on there. It was amazing. No, I've done... I had my first Tinder date when I was up in Toronto, and I was like, well, let's get ready to meet a crazy person and maybe make out with them and then take a shower. But she was so great and so cool. We ended up spending time, like, most of the time I was there.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay. And I knock wood, I haven't encountered many crazy people. But full disclosure, lots of that today. I canceled a date tonight because I just felt overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Like
the podcast and a date.
No, yeah. This is never. It was overwhelmed in the sense of, like, I'm like, you get in this weird thing where you're kind of like maybe chatting with like 2 or 3 people at a time, and I just it was, and I'm gonna see someone tomorrow night, so I was like, it just feels weird. It's very fracturing, you know. I felt very like this is too much for me.
My girlfriend's sort of like that. She can only do like one thing a day. Are you like that? Like I can't.
Well, it's not a one
too much on my plate.
It's not a one thing a day. It's like it's more the sort of like the interpersonal interaction.
Right. Her too.
Yeah, because it's like you're not just been like. I mean, I know there are people that cool. I'm gonna go meet somebody, fuck around with them, make out, and then I'll go home. And to me, I can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So
are you postponing that date? You'll do it next week or something?
no, I she was cool and just said like, look, I think I overextended myself, and I'm trying to sort of listen to my gut and feel like this is that is making me feel a little anxious. Maybe we try again. She's like, that's okay. I mean, I appreciate your honesty, but I'm not the kind of person that you can sort of circle back to. I was like, that's totally cool.
Excuse me.
No, there were just some other factors that was like it would have been one of those things. It was more one of those things like, well, this will be interesting, rather than this is a perspective thing.
Right.
And I think that's where I was like, I don't need any more distraction.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So it would have been more like, let's go on this date. Maybe they'll come out with a good story.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What, are you looking to get married again, or
I don't
more children, or
I don't know. Like I do want to be with somebody. I'd like to be in a relationship.
What about
with someone.
Gillian Anderson? She's single?
She's not. She's got 3 kids already.
Oh, well.
I mean, I asked her. The first thing I asked her, I was like, "What's the deal? Are we gonna get married or not?" Oh, we're shooting the scene. I'll talk to you in a second.
Take a selfie.
Yeah. Let's do this real fast. As far as kids, I don't know. Like I don't know if I physically can endure it. It's a lot.
You don't have to give birth.
I know, but it dominates. Yeah, it dominates your every bit of your being.
And you got 2 dogs, you say?
2 dogs.
Okay. And what happens to them when you travel?
I in a big panic, try to find someone who's willing to stay at my house for 2 to 3 months and take care of them.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Who stays at your house for 2 or 3 months? Friends?
Friends of friends. Usually they're 20-something-year-old.
Okay, improvisers.
Yeah, can be stand-ups and improvisers. Yeah, who are victims of the Los Angeles housing crunch, and so both times they were like, "Well, I'm looking for a place to live, so that's perfect." So,
in my notes, in my research, I saw that you did Sonic commercials with Molly Erdman, who I know a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And now I see Sonic commercials all the time with TJ and Jagodowski and Pete Gross.
Right.
And TJ's been on this show, and
cool.
we talked. He's been doing it for like 15 years or something like that. So there must have been a break in between in that 15 years where they brought you and Molly in.
There wasn't a break. They kept doing them.
Okay.
But apparently they were getting. People were like, "Hey, I don't understand why you have 2 gay guys selling your burgers. I'm not comfortable with that at all." People literally equated like 2 guys in a car hanging out as gay.
Telling jokes.
Yeah, totally. I was like, "Oh wait, look at those fags." So we benefited from people's ignorance, and yeah, I did that for like 3 years, and then I did some stuff for The Onion that the Sonic Corporation was not comfortable with.
I read that. I was like, what? So wait, because you did this satire parody thing for Onion, which was, I guess, involving veterans?
Yeah.
Which I assume you didn't write, or did you write it?
Did not write it.
Didn't write it. You were just an actor in it.
Yeah.
And
then this is a weird, Rob Hubel sent me a link. He's like, "Hey man, are you aware of this?" And I have no idea why Rob Hubel was trolling various veterans websites, but this guy said, "Hey, look, there's this actor in this Onion video, and they're making fun of soldiers." When in fact, or he's like, "Who's this actor?" And they're like, "Oh, it's again Brian Huskey."
Have him killed.
Have him killed financially. But because of satire, some people aren't going to get it, but they were saying the bit was they've made the Iraq War handicap accessible, so any soldiers who is injured can continue to fight until he's dead. So they're basically saying like they kept extending, the tours of duty and kept just like using up the soldiers. and they just hair trigger reaction. It was like, oh, they're making fun of us. It's like, no, we're not actually not.
Oh boy.
So
wow, and Sonic really got sensitive about it.
Well, I guess the guy sort of like the veteran is like, we're gonna rally and have a Veterans Association boycott your company. So I think they're like, oh
wow, Sonic, that's fucking crazy.
I know.
That's so weird.
And who knows if that's what that guy was actually going to say, or if he just wrote an email so like, hey, I have a blog, I'm going to do this. So it was not great. They didn't handle it great. I didn't handle it great as far as like.
How'd you handle it?
I was just really, really hurt and shocked, and I didn't handle it great afterwards because I did sort of like unload about it a lot.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Oh, what do you mean, like on podcasts or something?
Yeah, like this. But I my thing was, I was just like, just be honest with me. Tell me, because they didn't say that that's what it was. Mm. They said that they were switching up the ad campaign approach, and they wanted to have 2 females and stuff. And I was like, but you just said we're your most successful pairing, even more than the guys. So
it's because you're not gay.
Yeah. not that they know of. So I was like,
so they made an excuse. They didn't say outright you're fired because of this. Right. They just said
I told him, I was like, I think it's because of this, and if you guys are honest in what you expect of me, I can be honest in what I'm willing to do as a representative for your company. Mm. But I said, but I'm, as a performer, I tend towards this kind of material. Like, if you ever came to see me do ASCAT or Herald, you would fire me immediately based on the stuff I have done on stage. But I was like, just be straight with me and what's going on. And it wasn't until afterwards that one of the people at the creative agency was like, that's actually what it was. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I was just like going crazy about it because it was my livelihood, like it was
Molly's too.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was like, I felt terrible that it was affecting her. Yeah. And I
like, what I do?
And she had just moved to LA. I encouraged her to move to LA, and she moved to LA. That happened. The writer's strike happened. So I was like, welcome to hell.
But she got to hook up with Joe Canale out here, right?
Well, no, they had hooked up before.
In Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they was out here.
So. So yeah, I basically ruined her life and stuff.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
All right, I forgive you though.
That's all right. Yeah, it's all good.
Does she still talk to you?
She does.
Or does she go, you?
No, she was really cool about it. She was very supportive. She's like, that's not fair. That's not cool that they're just not saying what it is. Yeah, I think that was the thing that just drove me. That was the hardest. It's kind of like making me feel they're basically like, no, we're not crazy. You're crazy. Yeah. This is crazy. This just transparency is so much easier.
And if the Sonic people only knew how much TJ and Peter hate veterans, if they only knew.
Oh boy, they hate their motto is like no survivors.
What is it? Don't leave anyone behind. They're like, leave them all.
Leave them all behind.
Leave them all behind.
All men left behind.
All right, so you did a bunch of Veep episodes. That's got to be a ton of fun, right? I've had a lot of Veep actors on this show.
Yeah.
That's like
the best.
That and like Saturday Night Live are like the 2 things I'd like to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah, Veep is a beautiful diamond. Just a beautiful diamond.
Well, David Mandel might be a guest.
Oh, seriously?
He might be a guest.
Oh,
We've been in contact, but I think he's in the weeds now in the last season.
Yeah.
He's writing the last season, that's my guess. Children's Hospital.
Yep.
With Mr. Corddry dressed as a clown.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been fun, too.
Super fun.
That must have been so fun.
Yeah.
The Returned. We did an episode of that. I know the showrunner of that.
Oh, yeah?
Rael Tucker.
I don't think I ever met him.
Her.
Or either one of them. The Tuckers.
Bob's Burgers. You've done lots of Bob's Burgers. Do you like doing the voiceover stuff?
Love it. Yeah.
It's like easy,
doing on more. I'm actually wearing a Bob's swag shirt right now.
Oh.
This is a brunch squatch from the premiere episode.
Well, the t-shirt I'm wearing is E.T.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for you.
Okay.
Because of People of Earth.
Oh, great. Oh, well, look at
Alien.
that.
It's the only alien.
I almost wore an Alien shirt today. Yeah, I love their Bob's. I feel very fortunate. I get to work on shows where people are really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't had
Who's
many.
the biggest jerk you've ever worked with? Go ahead, name names.
Rob. Any of the Robs. Any of
All
the three
the
Robs.
Robs.
We've already established they're terrible, terrible people.
Anybody named Rob. Period.
Tom Brokaw.
Oh, yeah. I've heard
Seriously?
Seriously?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I was doing some writing for Robert Smigel does those Night of Too Many Stars to raise money for autism.
You got nominated for an Emmy for one of those.
Yeah. And so the bit, Brokaw was doing a bit, and I was put in charge of sort of like explaining the bit to him. And he showed up in a velvet coat with white piping along the lapels, and everybody was like, "What's going on, pimp?" And they had to do a makeshift sort of like control room set up backstage of this old theater in New York. And he, for whatever reason, came into the middle of like the most chaotic place and put a folding chair down in the middle of the room and placed himself there. And everybody's like, okay, Tom Brokaw's here. That's cool. And then so I was like, Mr. Brokaw and Brian, I'm going to work on explain the bit to you. And he would never look me in the eye. He always made sure that he would position himself so I was always behind him.
Weird.
And he would like kind of turn his body. He would just like turn the chair at one point. So as I would kind of come around to get face to face with him, he would always position me behind his like right shoulder or something.
Weird.
And I was like,
Did you smell? Maybe you smelled bad.
I did. I had a bunch of vomit on my chest, but I was like, everybody's cool.
That can't be it.
And so I was like, well, here's the bit. You got to do this. And then he went out there and he just started improvising.
Oh no!
Out of the gate, and
he's not an improviser.
No, and Jon Stewart like looked at him and just like laughed out of kind of like disbelief at like what he was doing, and then he kind of eventually started to do the bit, but not very well because he didn't quite understand it because he hadn't paid any attention to me, and I was freaking out backstage because everybody was like, "Huskey, what's he doing?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't."
No Emmy nomination for you this year.
Yeah, you're out. You're out. I was freaking out.
Well, is that what happened? Like he comes in with something that he has in mind, and then you approach him with something else, and he's trying to ignore you?
No, it wasn't. He's sort of like, it was like, he didn't even have something in mind.
Oh, he didn't. I thought maybe with the shirt and the coat or whatever.
I think maybe that's the real Brokaw, I guess. Or that's showbiz Brokaw, not news Brokaw.
This is autism Brokaw.
He's like, now I get to really show what I'm all about. I'm hilarious.
That's weird.
It was weird.
Did you ever talk to him afterwards about it or anything?
No. I was like, fuck you, man. Fuck you. I mean, it really was like, what? This is a charity show.
Yeah, why is he being weird?
Just come in and do your thing. It'll take 2 minutes. And he's...
Why do it if you're not going to do it?
I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like there needs to be a report on Tom Brokaw for this. We need a reporter.
Once we get out of this Trump situation, we're going to focus on that. We're going to focus on that.
Promises. Mm-hmm. Promises. So what do you think? What is the next crazy thing Trump is going to do? Can you predict?
He seems to be in the sweet spot of just saying the most insane, improbable, insulting things.
The oddest things. He told Puerto Rico the other day.
They're really hurting our budget.
They're hurting their budget. And
that's like the most backhanded kind of dad thing to say. It's like, you know what? Your car wreck that you almost died in is really
it's gonna cost me a lot.
Really gonna put
my insurance
dent in my wallet.
And I could tell he was trying to, like, he's serious about it, but he was also trying to make light of it, like in his tone.
Yeah.
And he's like, "How many people died?" He's still asking the guy next to him, "How many?" Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah,
dude.
that thing of is like, oh, I mean, this is a kind of a huge success in the number of dead.
And then they showed the mayor who was sitting there listening to all that with her head down, like hopefully meditating, something, just praying.
How do you not like lash out? I mean, that to me is just, I mean, anyone, there have been different sort of psychologists who are like, well, we can't, there's some policy where he's like, you can't diagnose from a distance, without, you can't like do a one-on-one diagnosis.
Right.
But so many of them are like, but if I were, he's definitely a narcissist.
Yeah.
And an increasingly sociopathic lack of empathy.
Yeah.
You know, and it is. I mean, that's why it's malignant narcissism. This thing of just like it, no matter how he positions it, and no matter how fucking vile and toxic and cruel what he's saying to the other person is, as long as to him he's positioning himself to look good, you know. And
They showed a clip of him at I guess it was in Puerto Rico. Was it still in Puerto Rico? Because he hasn't been to. I think it's still in Puerto Rico, where somebody lost their whole home and everything, and he said, "We're gonna take care of everything. Have a good time." He now that's like his thing is telling people to have a good. He's done it in several occasions.
Oh, I know.
Where he goes to like Florida or Texas.
Yeah, well, he's in Texas. He's like, look at this crowd. Look at this turnout.
Right. And then he goes, all right, guys. All right, you all have fun. Hey, what are you saying? Why would you wish them all have fun? Like, that's just a weird thing. Like he can't separate a gathering of people where it's like a party to disaster relief. It's like all the same thing to him.
Yeah, it's all, any gathering of people is for him to sort of, they're celebrating him. And so when he's like, and I'll give him a little tidbit, a little candy to leave with. You guys have fun, all right? I'm not going to be here.
Take it easy.
Without me, try to have some fun. I know it's going to be tough because I'm super fun.
Well, he's going to get a second term.
You think?
I hope not.
Okay, but don't say that. Don't put it out there.
I think I can't believe he got a first term, so I have to believe that we still have the Electoral College.
We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
He could really, I mean, my hope is, you know, I've heard this before, is like, it's a dark thing to hope for, but it's like, I hope he fucks up so badly that people are like,
but how bad? I mean, like, he's fucked up so many times.
I know, but it's
gotta take.
I know, but it's sort of like he fucks up in these little, and it's interesting what people are. I mean, now he is in place because everyone can curate their own reality. Everyone can curate and sort of select the news feed they want. They can select the information they're getting, and so that dictates the perspective you have on the world and on this person. So if someone is doing Breitbart and Fox News, the perspective they're getting on him is not the same as what you and I are, you know, encountering. So, right now they're not covering those weird little, you know, statements he's making and those weird little gestures he's doing that are to, you know, most not sane, insane people are like, oh, that's crazy. Don't you see that? So I think it will take something catastrophic for people to hold on a second.
But it would need to be so big that Fox News covers it.
Yeah. They were like, well, you know.
And it's like raw footage type.
I mean, that's where it's sort of like, it would be great if the Russian thing worked out. If we could just have a little Nixon, too, that would be awesome.
The Russians are listening.
Guys, if you want to swing the pinch. Oh, no, that's in your camera interest.
Well, hey, man, thank you so much for being here.
We really figured out a lot.
I think so.
I think
I'm going to walk away feeling a little better.
Yeah, I had no idea, like, what your angle on this was.
Yeah.
Like but it's basically hang out in the kitchen. And just getting it out there. I loved it.
My dog a little bit.
Yeah, have your dog have nightmares.
Well, you mentioned like, if other people listen to other podcasts I've done, then they're going to hear the same thing. Was this a little different than the other podcasts?
This one got much deeper.
Okay, cool.
This one got deeper, and then we, you know, I'm sure everybody wants to hear more stuff about politics from
I know. I can't get enough of it. I can't get enough of it. I can't.
Yeah. It is weird. There are days where I'm like, oh, this is super purging. And then some days I'm like, oh,
I know.
Just eating a bowl of your own vomit.
Well, I feel like since I hid from politics for so long, for most of my life, that I'm just discovering it. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm learning about Puerto Rico and the Constitution and the Electoral College.
I totally had that. Like, I had a little bit of like complacency guilt where I was like, only now am I reacting? Only now am I sort of acting when things get really super dark and awful?
Yeah.
But I also was like, well, why why do I have to be constantly vigilant? Why do I have to like always be at the ready for, evil to strike? Because like it was nice during the Clinton and a little bit of Obama to be like, this feels good.
Right.
But the weird thing is, for as much as like if you liked Clinton or you liked Obama, those were more safe periods for a big number of people. That was their Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, which is so weird.
So weird.
Like my parents, when they complain about Obama, I know my parents are very money conscious.
Right.
Even when they have it, they're afraid of losing any of it.
Yeah.
So if their taxes went up or something, that's an out. No matter how good Barack might do with the world, but if their taxes go up a little bit, that's what's bad. That's why it's bad. Something like that.
Yeah.
I talked to my last time. One of the last times I talked to my dad, he goes, "Oh, I'm hoping," because my dad has made some bad real estate choices. So he has some real estate in Florida before these hurricanes, and we were talking. He goes, "I go, when you guys sell those?" He goes, "Well, I'm hoping that Trump keeps his promise that he made on the campaign trail of giving us property tax cuts." I was like, "Well, good luck with that."
He's been pretty 1 for 1 on all those promises, hasn't he?
And now that those hurricanes hit, I'm like, that you're never gonna get rid of those properties.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah,
he's gonna die with those properties.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we didn't dip into climate change and the.
Let's talk about it.
Exponentially? Is this the start of it? Is this the thing where it's like, oh yeah, this is going to be the monthly.
Well, here's my fear of the climate change. So like this past 3 weeks or whatever, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, the fires that we've had.
Right.
Next year's just going to be worse.
Yeah. No, I think so. That's what I meant. Like exponentially, is it sort of going to be like?
So we're going to start rebuilding Puerto Rico, and then they're just going to get hit again next year.
Yeah.
I know. It's probably going to happen.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest bummers for me, for my kid. I'm really sad that she doesn't have grandparents, and I'm really sad that we are giving her this planet.
Yeah. Well, she's got to figure it out.
It's all on her. She better stop dyeing her hair and get her priorities right.
Stop shaving your head.
Come on. Thanks, man. This is great.
Thank you for being here. Would you like to plug your Instagram, your Twitter, your anything else, your special?
Yeah. Here's a list of things. So, People of Earth. We just finished our second season. We're going to start our third one.
By the way, I never even really talked about People of Earth.
That's cool.
Which I was binging yesterday, season 1, which I'm very much enjoying. Cool. I knew Wyatt Cenac a little bit from the IO West early days before he got the Daily Show and stuff. So it's good to see him doing well, and it's a great ensemble.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun, very funny.
Cool, that's good. Yeah, that's one of the
Where's
shows.
that tape?
Up in Toronto.
I tapes in Toronto too.
Yeah, they save a lot of money shooting up there.
Yeah, I bet.
So that's great. I think that's one of the shows. On a guest star, I was like, I'm really proud of this show. This is one of those shows where you're like, you can tell people you're on a show and you don't feel like it sucks.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no, I think
TBS is coming up with some good comedies too. I like Search Party a lot.
Yeah, the second season, I think that just went whoop in the second season. Like they found their stride with everybody's storylines. They've gotten I'm really
People of Earth?
Yeah, I'm really, really proud of it. This was a really good season. So
good.
So
we're doing just got renewed.
Just renewed. So that one is available streaming and all that stuff. Yep. I'm on Instagram and Twitter as the Brian Huskey. The Brian Huskey. And on both of those website social media things, there's a link to my special, Mr. Neighbor's House, that you can watch for free on the Adult Swim website, which is a bit of a nightmare to try to find things on.
But not difficult. Last night, I went to your Twitter, and there was a link there. You touch it, and it brings you right there.
That's it. Yeah, but if you go to the web, if you go to Adult Swim and search for stuff,
don't do that.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so go to my
just
Twitter.
Press the link, and it's trippy as hell. Would you recommend people be stoned to watch it?
I do. I had the young lady I spent time with in Toronto. She's like, I watched your special the first time. It was really cool. I watched it again when I was high. She's like, it was really cool.
All right.
I was like,
that's a good endorsement.
I was like, well, what if you had seen it high
the first
with
time?
not knowing what was going on? She's like, I might have been scared. I was like, well, okay, that's cool.
All right. Well, you use your gut.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening.
But all this being said, you should only do this if you're 18 or older. Okay?
18 or older. Okay. That's good.
I really don't want people to start getting used to smoking pot below that age because I think it'll fuck you up.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You learn a little something.
Yeah, I really think that's true. I worry about that with like my daughter and any of her friends. I'm like, just let your brain is chaos. Let it sort of settle.
When did you start smoking pot?
Really, I didn't like start to kind of officially do it until I was late 30s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I would occasionally have it. Like if somebody had some, I'm like, great. I love this, but I never bought it for myself.
Right.
I was a mooch. I was a mooch, but
the mooch.
Yeah, but I just didn't, I was like, I don't really want to have it around because I think I would just do it too much.
Yeah.
And then I had to get to a point where I was like, well, I don't need it that much, or I don't, my impulses are sort of in check. And
do you have vices? Do you have any addictions or vices like that?
No, not really. I think when I was growing up, I think I was a big sugar addict, but my parents were just like 70s junk food.
Yeah.
You just come home and have like
now you're ripped.
Oh my God.
Look at that. Let me see.
Try this part. Try this thing. Get your finger in there. All the way in there.
All the way in?
Push, man. Yeah, that hurts,
That's
right?
good.
It's firm as hell.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That's impressive. You're my goal.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get.
It's crazy when you think about what comes out of that and how firm that is. It's awesome.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, EJ.
And scene.
And done. Press the button.
There you go, folks. That was my talk with the great Brian Huskey. Thanks so much, Brian, again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It was a very enjoyable talk, and I haven't done a podcast in a few months, so it was really nice to get back into it and with such a textured conversation. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening. For those of you that are listening, still hanging in there. One more time for the plugs. Find me on Twitter at EJ Scott and at EJ Podcast. On Instagram, EJ Scott 1106, website ejscott.com, charities crowdrise.com/7on7, Running Blind documentary on iTunes, Google Play, or Amazon for just $2 or $3. And I think that'll be it. Go subscribe to my podcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio and listen to some of the past podcasts and don't miss any that are coming up. Got some really good guests lined up, and we will see you next time. Thanks.